All right, Schaefer. We heard from Matt Rule yesterday. We'll get to the recruit Nebraska got on Tuesday here in a second. But regarding yesterday, Matt Rule's at the podium for 36 minutes talking about wrapping up the season. But he mentions that in terms of going after a quarterback, he thinks the going price is $1 to $2 million for a transfer quarterback in college. What was your response to that? Did that number surprise you? Do you push back, or where do you stand on that?
I don't know how people are going to take this response, but especially since in theory it's sort of my job. But at the same time, it's almost impossible to know what quarterbacks go for in the NIL arena. I mean, everyone can just say a number. Cam Ward's been attached to $1 million. Do we know that he's actually attached to $1 million, or is there someone who is utilizing this opportunity to put it out there that he would very much like $1 million?
Just remember now they all have agents.
Yeah,
so they're getting money. I mean, the agents are getting a percentage.
And it's not just I mean, a lot of players have advisors or agents now, and they're helping make decisions as to, do you return to your team for another season? Do you go into the portal? Do you go to the NFL?
High school kids have agents.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of noise that goes into all of this. And so for him and he would have a better grasp on it, but it's also just hard to know. And then what that does, if Nebraska were to end up with a quarterback that people view as high end, immediately everyone's going to assume this person makes $1.5 to $2 million, which then suddenly puts a lot of burden on the rest of your offense. To which, I always wonder this: if you go get a high priced quarterback, if you're Teddy Prohaska and your entire job is to protect that high priced quarterback, and you know what the depth chart looks like at Nebraska, suddenly you need more NIL money. If you're Ben Scott and you came back instead of taking a chance in the NFL, you probably need more NIL money. If you're Bryce Benhart and you're waiting to see what's going to happen, you need more. So it's not just the quarterback.
That's the world.
Suddenly you're paying the rest of your offense.
That's leverage.
Right. And that's how this is all going to work. And so it fascinates me for him to put that number out there, because I think it will create some level of concern. It already has. You have people convinced Nebraska can't play in that end of the pool.
They can play in it.
You have people convinced that if they don't get a good quarterback, it means that they don't have the money. So it's just, there's a lot that's attached to that singular comment that will come out of fan reaction. But here's the thing, and this is what I tried to set up at the start and then completely buried. No one actually knows what the numbers are going to be. Some people know, but the general public at large, and you just can't take things at face value. You can't.
I think the rule, though, in saying that, he has a good idea what's going on.
Well, yeah, I'm not trying to say he doesn't.
Right.
I'm just saying that putting that out there is going to create some level of, I don't know, panic amongst the fan base. It already has. I mean, you work on a message board. I work on a message board. The entirety of, after that was, does Nebraska have the money to pay? Will Nebraska pay? Who is even worth paying?
Here's the answer to that. Yes, Nebraska has the money to pay it. I don't think philosophically the head coach wants to do a lot of that. I think that's the clear answer.
What is
Nebraska has the money?
What is the rumor / whatever that Sims got paid? Because no one knows.
It's six figures. I'll just
I don't know. So it becomes a question of, are we talking 500 or are we talking 250?
That's what I'm saying. I think closer to 250.
Yeah, I do too, because there wasn't a whole lot.
So now whoever comes in, you're
Jeff
feeling that right now it's like, hey, he's getting $1 million. He's getting 1.2. That would be what we just guessed from the comments, right? If they bring a quarterback, he's getting $1 million.
It depends who that quarterback is.
So that means that he better play like $1 million.
I guess.
You better play like $1 million.
Well, I mean, he's true in the sense that how many people immediately were like, Amigos paid NIL money for Jeff Sims.
There was a lot of that talk.
Or, the Jeff Sims combo has nothing to do with the soft shell and the crisp meat. It's the fumble and the interception.
Yeah, there's
things
a lot
of that nature. Like it gets held against you immediately.
It can.
I mean, it does. Yeah. Name one person that has gone into the portal that's been attached to money, and it has gone well for them at Nebraska. O'Shawn Mathis, it didn't go. I mean, he got drafted
terribly.
It didn't go terribly, but the fan base didn't view him as a difference maker.
Worth the money, but it never was it a big discussion point what he was making. I don't think it was.
I mean,
people knew he was going to make money. He's a defensive end. I mean,
but
defensive ends are going to make money.
When people know that you make six figures and you don't come away with 6 sacks, that becomes like a a thing. Like especially when you don't win games. Everything has to be in the context of Nebraska isn't winning, so people are already mad. When people are mad, they're going to be mad at everybody. They're going to be mad at Matt Rule. They're going to be mad at the quarterbacks. They're going to be super mad at Marcus Satterfield. Yep. They're going to be really mad at, any player that doesn't perform up to the level that they expect. You attach money to that player, it only just increases the anger. Because then that money was, they could have spent that in other ways. They could have done this. They could have done that.
Yeah.
Everything becomes hindsight and, second guessing because Nebraska isn't winning.
It shouldn't be that way. I mean, this is the way.
This is what people wanted. Winning cures everything.
This is what people wanted. They wanted those guys to be paid. So don't come back and complain about it. I mean,
well, it's too late for people to come back and complain about it. I don't think that they're complaining that they're getting paid. They're complaining that Nebraska's not getting enough out of what they're paying.
Okay. That's a fine distinction.
Well, I think that's what it is. There's certainly people who don't like that players are getting paid. I think that, there's always that undercurrent. But I think for a lot of people, it's if Nebraska has this NIL money and everyone talks about them having this NIL operation, where is the fruits of that labor? So far, you can't really say they can just show it on a platter as to what they have.
Right. It's complicated, though, because it's not like you can just throw a set amount of money at a player and that guarantees he's coming. Sure. It's not. That's not the way it works.
Yeah, it's not this isn't NFL free agency.
And some players don't even demand a lot of money. Right. There's that too. There's some players out there that don't. There are some players who don't partake in it.
I think Bill would agree with this. I think you would agree with this. I assume Jake would too. It's in a lot of ways, the money is important, but the fit of that player to what you're trying to do, how you're going to utilize them, who you can put them around is bigger. Like you have to get that right before you can even really worry about the amount of money.
Yeah.
Because if you're picking someone just to pick them, just because it looks good on paper, I mean, that's not going to work out for you.
It's not.
It has to, like Ben Scott was a great fit. He was someone that could play right tackle or center, and you could slide him in, and it worked really well. They took several other offensive linemen out of the portal that will never play here.
I got to say.
Now, did they have to pay anything for those guys? I have no idea. I doubt it. But they're also not getting much out of it either.
No. I like Rule's philosophy. I think it fits. Well, okay, I don't want to say it fits the fan base, but it fits with I like. Old school. We're going to build with high school players, and we're going to develop. And we'll have to fill some gaps in with portal players and have to pay them, depending on who it is. But it's not. Then we're not going to be governed by money, and we're not going to turn over the roster with 30 players from the portal.
Yeah,
he's not going to do it.
I like it. I'm 100% on board with that. I would expect them to try to find 4 or 5 difference makers out of the portal this year, and it to be much smaller than it was last year when they were in a transition.
Exactly. You got it. That's what it's going to be.
What about numbers, Schaefer?
To keep it at the 85 or,
Yeah, where are they?
They're probably at 94, if we're honest.
I was going to say mid-90s.
So part of their NIL operation is that they can pay out guys for their scholarship year if they're probably in their last year of school. So, like, if you have a Bryce Benhart that comes back, you can take him off of scholarship while loading him up on NIL and then lengthen out your roster.
Yep.
That's where I think Nebraska is largely focused. A lot of their NIL efforts is to build a deeper roster.
Focus, we talked about that in hour 1.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. It's been the best way to do it is with seniors in that aspect.
Yeah. And so that's going to always make it tricky to say what their numbers are. And then you look at the recruiting. I mean, they have, I think right now, 25. It has changed.
The class
25 or 26 total commits.
26 commits.
And then you've got
because attrition wasn't great.
You had 24 guys walk, but you already have several that are coming back, several that you assume are coming back.
24 that walked,
and some weren't even scholarships. Yeah, so the numbers,
tricky.
Tricky. To get into Carlin Jones, part of why he's not on Nebraska's class anymore is that they have their defensive line coming. They don't have open scholarships, really. And so if he's not going to sign until February, which is the indication that he gave to several 24/7 sports guys, Nebraska basically took a scholarship. They're like, we can't, if you're not going to sign in December, we can't honor you as a commitment because we don't know that we're going to have a spot for you in February. So we can't invest the time to do this. And so that's
It had to be, Schaefer, it had to be based way more different than that. It had to be based more on what are the odds that we're going to get him.
Well, there's
no chance you would ever pass on a defensive line scholarship that you feel is an elite player. There's just no chance of that. Zero.
I would assume they think that he's going to end up at Ohio State in the end, and they don't want to put the effort into it when they don't even know that they have a scholarship.
The number, no way, can be part of it. No chance.
I mean, it is apparent just based on comments, and not directly to me, but through 24/7 Sports, that this was a Nebraska decision to remove him as a commit.
Good God. That is startling. This is a guy who had 17 and a half sacks.
Yeah.
And
look, he would have been in my Super Six. I'm not like advocating that this was the right decision.
Now, I
think it speaks to where they're at numbers wise, and I think it also speaks to the level of confidence that they have and what they have on their defensive line.
Could it speak to what Carlon Jones was asking for?
Could very well.
And if he's asking for a lot, it does not fit with the kind of the philosophy that Nebraska has, which is we don't want to pay guys that haven't done anything.
Yeah. And that could very well be,
unless they've done something in college. Like you'll pay for a defensive end that's played at TCU and had 7.5 sacks in a season. But we're not going to pay for a high school kid. We're not going to pay 6 figures to a high school kid. I'm not saying they won't no matter what, but that's not what they want to do.
Well, because then what do you have to do with Riley Van Poppel? Yeah. What do you have to do with James Williams? What do you have to do with
everybody?
The entire defensive line, and they're all largely coming back.
Right.
So if that was a part of it, and that had not been in.
Oh no, I mean I'm not. All I'm saying is philosophically, I know that's not what Nebraska. That's not the road Nebraska wants to go down.
Right.
I mean, they want to focus their priority. They want to prioritize guys that have done it. Guys that have been in the program and done it.
Yeah, it's a great move. We talked about it earlier. Yeah. That's a great to reward those that have done it.
But
I just know like that numbers has nothing to do with it. Who's the top 2 defensive linemen in the country right now, high school wise, Schaefer? Just give me 2 examples.
I can't. I mean,
I don't have them off the top of my head. There's a guy committed to Georgia, one to Alabama, and those 2 guys called Nebraska football. So we want to go together. We want to go to Nebraska. Will you take us? Yes.
Yeah, they would.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's no numbers.
Find a way.
Yeah. You don't ever pass on great big people.
Yeah.
Regarding a guy Nebraska did get as an offensive lineman,
great big people.
It's been going on for months and months and months.
Schaefer was the lead guy on this.
You were.
Schaefer was the lead guy. I don't want to hear about all these other places like that. No, Schaefer was the lead guy. He spent the most time there.
I'm going to take that clip, cut it out, and send it to my mom and be like, look,
Schaefer spent the most time.
Oh, I don't know that I spent the most time.
I do. I documented it. You did.
You went to his game.
Yeah,
you were there.
Didn't you take a picture?
6 games.
Yes, I took multiple
Didn't you take the picture of the one in the
cornfield?
Yeah.
That's Schaefer. That's why he came.
I got him as a drum major before he's playing in his homecoming game. Yeah.
There's
some good Grant Bricks photos.
There's some Sports Illustrated photos.
The only reason he's coming, Schaefer.
Mike Schaefer, the big reason.
I don't think so.
Are you getting NIL money out of this?
No, I'm not.
Let's talk to the Bricks family about this.
Yeah.
Some NIL for Schaefer. Well, update just again how this all come through.
I mean, it's a huge commitment. He was their top offensive line target this cycle. I mean, and we're talking there's 5-star guys that they had on campus, and Brandon Baker and some other guys that are more highly rated. They internally big fans of Grant Bricks. They made that known to Grant Bricks. They made that known to his family. The recruitment was always a little bit fascinating because he is not like a super. You have some kids, and Bill can speak to this, that just want to be recruited all the time. They want to be talked to all the time. They want their hand held all the time. They need the constant contact and all of it. Grant was not that. I mean, one of the times I was out there, he basically said, like, we don't talk all the time, and I think they know that I don't need to talk to them all the time. And he's like, it's not just Nebraska. I'm like that with all the schools. Like, I'm not,
Interesting.
It's like I kind of let them know when I'm interested, and if I have questions, and they'll check in, but it's not, we don't have anything set up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really unique because you'll have some other guys where it's basically like, I talk to this coach every single day.
Every day.
I'm getting text messages from the recruiting staff every single day. And it's not that these staffs weren't pushing on him, but I think you figure out the personality of a kid.
Got to.
And he's someone who didn't need it and didn't necessarily want it. And so when Nebraska did do stuff, obviously they went big. They had the semi-trailer there. They made it known in no uncertain terms that they really wanted him. But what ultimately sold him was Matt Rule and Corey Campbell, the strength and conditioning staff. He was very infatuated by sort of the plan that Corey Campbell has for him, the plan that he has for other players. I think that he liked that Nebraska's offensive line was clearly better in 2023 than it was in 2022. Mm-hmm. And whether you want to, attribute that to just natural development of guys getting older, of bringing in Ben Scott to help stabilize the middle of that offensive line, Raiola in his second year, all of it spoke to Grant Briggs. I mean, and then you think about it, there's good opportunity there. I think that, he's someone that could be in line to potentially be your right tackle after Bryce Benhart, but he's going to have to get here and develop. I mean, he's not going to arrive until the summer, so you're not going to get an extra spring with him. And he spends most of his high school career, if not, all of his high school career, in an offense that ran the ball 90% of the time. I mean, the game that I went to, they threw one pass. It was intercepted.
One.
So,
one with the pick.
He's got a lot to work on.
QBR is going to be low.
Of pass blocking. Yeah.
Not a good QBR.
I don't even know how you
wanted
rate
a
that.
pick. Was it pick 6? Yeah. Negative.
Yeah.
QBR rating.
He won't be here. He won't be here in the spring.
No.
That's critical.
Yeah, because he's a wrestler, so he'll finish out his wrestling career and everything else, unless something has changed. But that wasn't the plan this fall.
Okay.
And so he's a guy that they're going to get in. He'll redshirt. He'll develop, and then you're hoping in 2025, if he's as good as you want him to be, or if he can develop quickly, that you can put him in the mix right there at right tackle.